Welcome back, Three Ball Walk. Bob, Eddie, Julio.
How you doing?
And now, April 19th today, April 15th, 1947. 50 years ago and
70.
4 days.
70 years ago.
70 years ago.
70 years ago and 4 days.
Yeah.
In 4 days.
I sent that one photograph of the baseball.
Oh, I
put it on
don't.
there?
We can if you send it to me.
I did, I already did.
Oh, I haven't seen it. Did you
Jackie
send it to
Robinson
Saturday?
ball, 50th anniversary. That's what I was
That's what
thinking.
you're thinking about that,
It was
yeah.
20 years and 4 days ago.
Yep.
It's hard to believe that the Marlins won a World Series 20 years ago.
It's hard to believe the Marlins won a World Series. Period.
They won
Two.
one more than the Braves.
I know.
More than the Braves.
I know.
yes.
That's why it's hard to believe.
That's why it's hard to believe.
Because
yeah.
they win it and then they go, and then they win it and then they go, and then they build back up and then they'll probably win one in the next couple of years and then they'll go down again. It's just the way the nature of.
Yeah.
Would you
small
rather
market.
be like that, or would you rather like just be a contender every year?
I'd rather be a contender
I
every
would.
year.
I would rather be and have a chance to win every year.
I'd rather be the Yankees.
Yeah, no, I don't know about that, but I'd rather have a chance to win. That's the one thing about all this rebuilding, and you see all these teams who are constantly rebuilding. When are they ever going to be there?
When's the rebuilding done?
When's it done? That's
It's
my
like a
point.
highve project. It just keeps on continuing.
It's like
In
Jacksonville.
the city of
just keep
no,
building.
Atlanta's even worse. Now
Any
they got
problem.
another.
Now they got another
Now they
issue.
got another issue.
So
They're rebuilding.
yeah, they're going to be rebuilding for a while.
Yeah.
Did you see the ballpark?
I have not seen it. I don't have the package, so I've not seen a Braves game yet. I watched the
just-
Marlins when I watched.
I haven't seen it yet either. We were talking about Kelly Barnhill in the last segment, and her mom actually went to opening night
in Atlanta.
in Atlanta, and she's not even a baseball fan. And I told her I hated her at that moment
man,
when she
that's-
told me she was going. She's a real estate person in Atlanta, and their broker had a
I
box
had tickets.
and was taking all of them, and she's like,
very
I don't even
first.
care. I was like, oh, I hate you. So I would
I,
love to.
I haven't seen it. I'd love to see it. I'd love to go. I went to Turner Field the first year. I love Turner Field. I don't know why they moved, but I mean,
If you could have picked Turner Field up and moved it to Gwinnett.
yeah, I love Turner Field. It was great, but I mean, you wonder about teams, and obviously it's money and it's the sponsorships and it's everything, but you kind of like to some of the old parks. You like Fenway, you like Wrigley. It's too bad some of the old parks still can't exist.
Any stadiums like if I go if we go, that'll be your third different ballpark you've seen the Braves in, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Any other teams like that,
For three parks.
For three parks.
or two parks?
We're not counting. Well, the Dodgers don't count because that's Edmonton, but they were in the Coliseum.
No,
originally.
for you seeing personally.
you seeing.
Oh no, the Braves are the only ones. I saw.
Yeah, that's the only one that I'm old enough to have
Yeah.
gone that they moved three times.
Because
in my
it's fun.
lifetime.
Because it's funny. Someone asked me just about 2 weeks ago how many of the 30 major league parks I've been in, and I said I've been in 38, and he goes 38. I said,
Yeah.
so you've been in all of them? No, there's about 4 I haven't been in, but I've been 2 in Pittsburgh, 2 in Cincinnati, 2 in St. Louis, 2 in Houston, 2 in
Baltimore.
Atlanta.
If you went to Baltimore, it'd be two.
I've been to 1 in Baltimore. I've only been to Camden. Didn't go to the other.
Memorial Stadium.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's interesting how many stadium. It used to be how many stadiums, and now how many because stadiums' lives are
They're not long. They're not as long as they used to be.
96 Olympics, right?
Yeah.
Well, 20 years ago, I saw
Yeah.
a thing that Bartolo Colon played in Turner Field
In the
And-
first game.
and in the new one here. So 20,
the first
his
game-
career spanned
Two openings.
Two openings.
The one thing I like about the new stadiums, they all have characters. Not like the '70s where you just had the cookie cutter. Here, here's one. Here's Wrigley
Well,
Field.
they were-
looked like
No, not Wrigley
but,
Field.
Pittsburgh.
It
Looked
was
like
Riverfront,
Philadelphia,
Three
looked like
Rivers, and the Vet.
Right.
Those are and they were modeled after Bush, but since Bush was the original one,
So
that one kind of
hey,
wasn't.
We're kind of getting off track there.
No, because in 1947, 70 years and 4 days ago,
Yep.
Jackie Robinson made his debut.
Debuted in major leagues.
And now, you look at the majority of black players in baseball are Hispanic American.
A lot of them. Yep.
I mean, there's not that many African Americans playing baseball.
No, not
So,
as many. And I don't know if this is the lowest percentage it has been since the '60s, but it's pretty far down there. And one reason I think you can, and not to get off Jackie Robinson, but baseball's a hard sport to practice by yourself. Basketball, you got a ball, you got a hoop, you go out work on your game. You've got to take more than one person to go help work on your game, and I don't know that is something that is.
Do you need more space?
I think you need a lot more space.
The inner city, and you've seen pictures of the stickball games in
With
New York.
Willie Mays.
I mean, does that happen? Without getting killed by a car?
Probably
Not
not
today.
anymore. Not anymore. And certainly, you know, growing up, that's what I did in the backyard. I had
Yeah.
my dad cut down a broomstick, and we had a bunch of rocks in the driveway and woods behind
Yep.
our house. And he said, "Go see how many rocks you can hit in the woods." So
Yep.
every day I'd go out there and throw up rocks and hit them with a stick and see how many rocks I could hit in the woods. Cleaned out the driveway before I graduated.
But you know, the one thing, did you see 42? Did you see the,
Yeah.
which is a beautiful movie. I mean, they did a very nice, you felt like you were at Ebbets Field. But one of the things that I think is not stated enough is Ricky, when he got Robinson, wasn't looking for the best baseball player. He was looking for the right man to do what he needed to do. Because if Robinson had failed,
See, I'm not sure.
who knows when they would have tried again.
I'm not sure that's exactly right, because I just finished reading a biography of Jackie Robinson like last week. As a matter of fact, finished it, and one of the things
I never had it made?
no, it's called Jackie Robinson: A Spiritual Autobiography,
Okay.
or a spiritual biography rather, not autobiography, and written by a couple of guys, Michael Lewis and Chris Lamb,
Okay.
which is not yet published. It's soon to be published. It will be coming out shortly.
Cool.
I had a chance to read it ahead of time, and it's one of the things it says in there is that Branch was looking for the right guy character-wise.
Mm-hmm.
He was looking for the right guy spiritually. That Richie was a man who loved God and needed a guy who loved God who would go with him and not would turn the other cheek. And that's one of the first things they had the conversation was, is that you have to be willing to turn the other cheek.
For 2 years.
And that was not Robinson's character.
No.
That was not him growing up. That was not his mentality. And
He had been court-martialed from the military.
right, but he had
because-
been court-martialed from the military because he refused to give up his seat.
Right, but that's not turned. I mean, that's standing up.
Yeah, and it wasn't anything violent or anything like
Correct.
that. He just
No,
said, "I'm
you're
not going to do
absolutely
it." And so, but he was actually looking for a guy who could play baseball well enough that
Sure.
the other guys on his team would say he deserves to be here.
Right.
Because of his baseball skills.
Right.
And the first game, I think, when he went out and he went 1 for 3 in his first outing, there was some question about that. But the second game he came back and he owned the game and stole, I think, 3 bases in that game, and everybody was like, "Okay, this guy deserves to be here."
Well, he changed the way the National League played, especially. I mean, because the National League hadn't seen that kind of baseball before, and you look at someone like Jackie Robinson, who, and what you talked about, for 2 years he wasn't allowed to retaliate. He could not answer back. He could not, he was basically just, the muzzle was on him. You can't say anything to anybody, and the fact that he was able to have that put upon him and still succeed, and be the first Rookie of the Year that was ever awarded.
Well, was there any doubt he was going to be Rookie of the Year?
Well, I don't know. I don't know who was playing.
Well, the award
47.
was named after him.
Yeah, I mean
Eventually,
baseball.
yeah.
I mean baseball. That was an award created to reward the baseball team there.
But there were a lot of guys who, a lot of people thought Monty Irvin might be first. Josh Gibson was still a viable player. Satchel Paige was bitter for years that he wasn't the person who was selected to be the first person in the majors. Robinson was the right guy, and he opened the door for Campanella and Newcomb and all the people that followed behind him.
There's a part of that story that Robinson didn't enjoy playing in the Negro Leagues because of the character of the men who played the games.
I didn't know. That's interesting.
That he was contemplating quitting baseball because of that,
didn't know that.
because of the womanizing and because of the drinking and everything else that was surrounding that. And you say whatever you want to about why it was, but that was his words, is that he was having a hard time because they weren't there to play baseball. They were carousing and doing all the other stuff. And
Bingo Long.
I guess so.
Did you
Well,
see?
he-
You've seen Bingo Long.
Yeah, it's been a long time, but I've seen, yeah.
That shows. I mean, it's basically a comedy about
The Negro Leagues.
the Negro Leagues.
But Robinson wasn't there that long either. He was in Kansas City. I don't think he played a whole year in Kansas City before.
Yeah, he did.
He played a whole year?
He played, I think, 2 years, 2.5.
I didn't think he was there that long.
Yeah, he was there for a little. He was there for a little while. He came back and joined them, and the interesting thing in the book was that Richie sent scouts to talk to scout Robinson, and a white scout was looking at him, and so he was how he got around that was he told Jackie that Richie was looking at putting a Negro team in New York, and that was the only way that they could scout him without anybody else knowing that.
Sorry.
So it's kind of an interesting book. It talks a lot about Jackie Robinson's faith, the faith of his mama,
Which is huge.
which was a huge thing in that life, the faith of his wife, and how faith interacted with all of his life. And the book really kind of goes on from when he gets out of baseball to the rest of his life, and the advocacy that he did and the impact he had on the civil rights movement.
And that was one of the things about 42 that to me was it. I would like to see more of a movie about because his life after baseball was, I think, just as important as what he did in baseball. And you know, later on in his life, people didn't. Maybe he seemed out of touch, and that's a whole different show. But he was always fighting. He was, and you know, he was only 53 years old when he died.
Yeah.
And I remember coming home from school in the '72 World Series, and just in time to see him give his speech on the field. And you know, 10 days later, he was dead.
Which they forced him to do that speech.
And
He did not. He did not want to do that speech.
Right. And he still got his say in because he said, well, "I'll be happy when I see a blackface managing in baseball."
Right.
But you know, I remember reading his book, his autobiography when I did a book report in like the 7th grade, I guess.
A long time. I mean, they had books back then.
Yeah, they had books back then. You had to read them with a candle, but it was that kind of thing.
It wasn't carved in stone.
No, it wasn't
Okay.
carved in stone. They weren't stone. It's parchment. It was,
All right,
you know,
all right,
parchment.
good.
And you didn't get a match near it either. But anyway, so and not really understanding. I would like to reread the book now. I'd like to read that book. But what are your feelings on Jackie Robinson? I mean, what are your thoughts? We'd love to hear from you. I mean, he changed the game. He changed the game of baseball in so many ways that just his stealing bases. I mean, one of my favorite parts of his career is the '55 World Series when he steals home. And Yogi Berra, to his dying day, said he was out. And when I had my store, I used to sell pictures of the steal, and where Berra wrote his inscription, he was out.
He was out.
Yeah.
I wish I had that. I would
Yeah.
try and buy that one from you.
Yeah, it's
Hey,
awesome.
you know, one of the interesting things about Jackie Robinson is where they spent spring training their first year.
It was in Cuba.
It was in Cuba.
Yep.
And the fact that they went to Cuba and Panama to play games and made other people come down there and play was kind of interesting that Major League Baseball did that.
At that time, the Cuban leagues had already been integrated for years.
Yeah.
And they figured that was the. However, when they were down there, ironically, he didn't stay in the same hotel with the other players.
No, he was not allowed to.
And he would go into
Even in Cuba?
Even in Cuba,
Wow.
only because of a team decision. Nothing to do with the hotels,
Right.
the integration.
Yeah, because they didn't think the team was ready for it.
But when he was sitting there meeting, when they had decided, him and Branch Rickey, was Leo DeRocher was the manager, and then he got suspended right before the season
Right.
started.
Right.
I don't know. I don't think it was DeRocha.
No,
He
Leo
was the
was at
manager.
the beginning, and
He got
then
suspended.
he got suspended right
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
the season started.
I forget
And it was Brannon,
I forget this.
Brandon. But he
Yeah, I
would
wonder.
meet. Jackie would come in and meet in the lobby.
Wow.
Not in the lobby, in the hotel bar and in the restaurant with Branch Rickey and whatever. And he said, why don't I, everyone else is just walking downstairs to the restaurant. I need to bring a cab over to talk with the general manager and everything. But rather interesting. But it was better than Sanford. It was
No, which the next year was there.
in
Yeah.
Sanford.
Well, they tried to do Sanford, and they didn't. They ended up not doing Sanford. They ended up playing in Daytona,
Right.
in Daytona Beach.
And the reason they built Dodgertown, one of the reasons they built Dodgertown was because the black athletes would not have to worry about trying to go into town. They could get something to eat. It was all self-contained, and that was
They
the
built
whole
little
idea behind
apartments and
Dodgertown.
everything like
Yeah.
that.
It is a great story.
One of the neatest things, and I've just been sitting here listening to you guys. In 2000, the U.S. Post Office released a baseball stamp collection, and had
Yep.
probably I want to say like 10 different baseball players or something like that on the sheet.
I have a sheet at home.
Do you? And that the first day issue, you know how the post office always has the little first day issue, and it could be about such and such, and they'll do it in a certain city, and the postmaster, and they stamp it, and if you get it postmarked from that place on that day, it's like the first time that stamp was ever canceled. The post office decided that the first day issue of that baseball series was going to be Dodger Stadium, and the corner stamp was the Jackie Robinson stamp, and the postmaster, me being the Dodgers PR director at the time, the postmaster came. We had right about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, a couple hours before the game, we had a presentation there behind home plate, and there were people actually sitting in the stands and everything like that. And Rachel Robinson spoke. And,
Oh, wow.
and me being me, Tommy Lasorda, Rachel Robinson, their daughter, a few other people, and the postmaster of the city of Los Angeles, and they did the presentation, and they had a big old copy of the stamp and everything like that, and what an honor it is for Jackie. And then they actually sat there and took a letter with the stamp and did the cancel,
Right there.
the cancellation right there. And then during that night during the games, they actually had a little place the post office did. Up in the concourse area where you could go and buy
Cool.
a postcard or something
Get his
with
stamp.
with that first day stamp. But it was, I'll tell you what, it was an honor, and it was neat meeting Mrs. Robinson and doing that.
And I think
that entire presentation.
She also was a big factor.
Oh,
in his
she was a
success.
huge factor.
Because she was really the only one he could go to in '47 and commiserate with, and to be. She was his rock. I mean, if you read his book, I mean,
Yeah, if you read this one, there's a lot in there that she talks about. Even the fact that he almost came apart several times in '47, and was at a point where he didn't want to play anymore, where he didn't want to do it. He felt it was too much weight on him to be able to carry. But she talked to him, got, and you know, it was tough on their family. Their son ended up going down a path of drugs, alcohol, rehab, got his life straight, started working on a project, and then died in a car wreck. It was those kinds of issues that people don't see off the field, where the faith of the Robinsons really held them together, and that's a critical point. So
I want to read that book.
it's a really good
And
opportunity.
when does it come out?
It's supposed to be released sometime this month in April.
And of that book little thing where they let you preview to review books, how many books do you get? Do you do a month, or
Oh, I don't know.
do you select which ones you
I
want?
select the ones I want, so I do probably 4 or 5 a year.
And besides the first hour, we'll say, or first segment, it feels like an hour. This May 6th at Westside Baptist Church, the Wild Beast Feast.
In Gainesville, Florida.
Here in Gainesville, Florida. And our speaker
Daryl
this year,
Strawberry.
Daryl Strawberry.
It'll be a lot of fun.
Great opportunity.
Hey, once again, thanks for joining us this week.
Hey, we had a live studio that's doubled,
Doubled. Next week.
so thanks
Next
for our
week.
live studio audience.
Two. I know.
Yep,
Well, maybe next time
they're
we'll have.
very quiet. When they were just one, they were a lot louder.
Yeah, they were.
louder.
Yeah, she was. It was good. So, hey, thanks for watching. And get a chance to go out and play ball,
Play ball.
not go to watch some. See you guys next week.
Take care.